Okay, this is chapter number 10, and this is chapter named at traders, kings, and pilgrims. So we have to find about trades and traders. Like in the previous chapter, we came to know about the northern black polished ware pottery, and they are especially this ware fine pottery. They had also bowls and plates, and they were found from the several archaeological sites throughout the subcontinent. However, that traders may have carried them from place to place where they were made and they sell them. It means that they might have been made at some places and have been traded out to some other places. Like of the Aratine ware which we came across in the chapter number 9, and that is in Puducherry or Kaimandu. So that South India was famous for the gold, spices. Then we had especially people was very much famous from the South India. Then they had also precious stone. Now people was particularly valued in the Roman Empire so much that it was known as black gold. So traders carried those goods to the Rome in the ships and across the sea and by the land in caravan. There must have been quite a lot of trade as many Roman gold coins have been found in South India. It means that they had trade relation, that is international trade. And one thing is very much clear, that it should be written down here, that in open economy, that our economy is not only open in 1991, but we had trade relation with other country, and we had surplus trade relation with other country, and this is what it found in the historical evidence. Okay, so we moving to the next. It is a poem for the trade, and we need not to remember and read it out. Now traders explored several sea routes. Some these some of these followed the coasts, and there were other who across the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. They took advantage of the monsoon. Okay, this is what we have to be aware of, that they took the advantage of monsoon winds and to reach the Indian subcontinent quickly. So if they wanted to reach Indian coast in the western coast of the subcontinent from the East Africa or Arabia, they had to choose the sailing between the southwest monsoon. So a sturdy ship had to be built for the long journey. So no, now we have the new kingdoms along the coast. Since the coast is something that is important for trading purpose, because the people from the long distance, they carried a trade with the sea coast. In inland they had rivers. So the river water and their channels is important for a trade. Even in India today we had a context of inland trading center. So it is not something new to Indian subcontinent. So we have to be, if you want going to trace out the history of inland trade, and particularly the waterways, then we can trace it out that we had a long history of trading with the sea, as many of the important cities have been developed in the region where there is a good river channel. Now we have a new kingdom along the coast. Southern half of the continent is marked by the long coastline. They had very long coastline with the hills, plateau, and river valley. Amongst the river valley, that is the Kaveri is the most fertile one. Chiefs and king who control the river valley and the sea coast become the rich and powerful. Sangam poet mention about the Movender, that is Tamil word meaning of three chief, used for the head of three ruling families like Chola, Chera, and Pandyas. So, can you remember the names which have the rulers which are present in Indian subcontinent at that point of time when Chera rules in the South Indian continent, like Indo Greeks? Are you getting? Are you remembering all the things in the previous chapter we came across? There were Indo Greeks. Then there came someone that is named as, I think. Kusans, and between Kusans in also a kingdom was there, and you have to remember all these things. Along with that, we have the North India, sorry, Central India. Central India also by the Shunga dynasty, Kanwa dynasty, and Vakata dynasty. So we have to be very clear about these things in our mind. Now each of the three chiefs had two centers. One is inland, another is on the coast. So of these six cities, now the two were very important. Since there were three kingdoms, then it means that they had six cities, six capitals. Now, Puhar or Kaveri the port of Cholas, it is there. Now, and Madurai, that is capital of Pandya, is there. Now, the chief did not collect regular taxes. Instead, they demanded receive gift from the people. Okay, it is very important that they did not collect any taxes. While in North India, they had a system of taxation since the Mauryan rule. Now, and Mahajan Panchs also have been raised due to the taxation from the people. Now, they also went on military expedition to contribute tribute from the neighboring area, and they kept some wealth and distributed among the people's supporters. Now, many poets whose compositions are found in the Sangam literature are in the praise of chief. This means that they were often regarded as from the precious stores, gold, horse, chariot, and whatever the precious at that point of time, in order to praise the king. So, this is the situation we had. Now, around 200 years later, the dynasty known as Satavahan became powerful in the western India. Okay, so Satavahan, the most important ruler of Satavahan was Gautamiputra Satkarni. We know about him from an inscription composed by his mother, Gautami Balasari. Now, Satavahan rulers were known as the lords of Dakshinpat, literally means the route leading to the south, which were also used as a name for the entire south region. Now, the story of Silk Road. The rich, glossy color of silk and smooth texture make it highly valuable fabric in most of society, even today. So making silk is a complicated process, and raw silk has to be extracted from the cocoons of the silkworm, spun into thread, and then woven into cloths. So technique of making is silk were first invented in China around 7,000 years ago, but they were closely guarded for secrecy for thousands of years. And the peoples of China who traded these silk to the distant land, particularly Arab countries and Europe, they followed a particular path in the northwestern frontier, and this path is known as Silk Road. However, there are some peoples who used to control the Silk Route, and they charge taxes and for the protection, and this is why northwestern subcontinent frontier of the subcontinent becomes important, and the most important king who controlled a large portion of this route was Kusan, and this is why they could benefit from taxes and tributes and gifts that were brought by the travelers traveling the road. In return, they protected the traders who passed from their kingdom. The best known who controlled the Silk Road were Kushans, and who ruled over Central Asia and the Northwest India around 2000 years ago. Their major center of power were Peshawar and Mathura. Taxila was also included in the kingdom. However, during their rule, a branch of Silk Route extended from the Central Asia down to the seaport at the mouth of the Indus River. So we have the Kusan who were the who had a stronghold over the Silk Route. So the Kusans were amongst the earliest rulers of the subcontinent to issue gold coins. These were used by traders along the Silk Route. So Kusans were the first to use gold coins. Now a sculpture from the Astup Sachi. It has been there. Look at the tree and the empty seat below. A sculpture carved this to indicate that Buddha had attained enlightenment meditating under a tree. So this was the meditation and their enlightenment phase. Now the spread of Buddhism. The since you know that the famous Kushan who who also convened the fourth Buddhist council in which the Mahayana and Hinayan Buddhism, two sect of Buddhism got separated. Now he was a famous rule, and his famous ruler, Kusan famous ruler, was Kanishk. So he organized a Buddhist council where scholars meet and discuss the important matter, like Ashwaghosh. I asked you that who wrote the biography of Buddha, that was Asughosh. You have to remember it. That is Buddha Charit. Lived in his court, Asughosh and other Buddhist scholars are now began writing in Sanskrit. You have to be very quick about this. In the decline of earlier, there were Prakrit, use of Prakrit, and now we have use of Sanskrit. So they are going to be language of the high class, not of the common mass. So a new form of Buddhism known as Mahayana Buddhism developed here. This had two distinct features. Earlier, Buddha presence was shown in the sculpture by using certain sign, like for instance, his attainment of the enlightenment was shown by the sculpture of the people tree. Now, a statue of Buddha were made, and many of these were made in Mathura, while others were made in Taxila. The second change in this fourth Buddhist council was a belief in the Bodhisattva. These were supposed to be the person who attained enlightenment, but when even after getting enlightenment, they remained in the world to teach and help others, people, to attain the Bodhisattva. So, Bodhisattva is someone who is enlightened person who remained on the earth in order to help others. So, a statue of Buddha. This is something very much very good beginning, and this is where the Murti Pujan starts. Okay, so it is mark of a new cultural factor in the subcontinent, and from here a number of figures have been appeared. Their influence have been appeared. So we will see in this chapter. Now the worship of Bodhisattva become very popular and spread throughout Central Asia, China, later Korea, and Japan. Buddhism also spread to the western and southern India, where dozens of caves were hollowed out of hills for monks to live in. Now, some of these caves were made on the order of kings and queens, others by merchants and farmers. So, these were often located near the passes through the Western Ghats. So, roads connecting the prosperous port and coast city with the Deccan run through these passes. If these are located on the passes and particularly the trade route, then it is possibly and probably the traders who might have rested in these Bihars and Ncert, and from there they spread throughout the world and subcontinent outside. Now, this is image of Buddha from Mathura, and this is image from Taxila. Since it is image where the Buddha has been shown very good, having in the blessing position, and it is saying that it is meditating position and having a this is a you know this is something that is feature of Indo Greeks, and we will come to know in the cultural chapters. Now, these traders who halted in these monasteries during their travel, and Buddhism spread to the Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, and other Southeast Asia, including the Indonesia. Now we have the older form of Buddhism that is known as Theravada Buddhism that was more popular in this area. Now we had the quest of pilgrims. The quest of pilgrims, that the traders who journey to the distant land in Karwa and ship, pilgrims often travel with them. So the pilgrims are the men who undertake journey to a holy place in order to offer worship. The best known of these are Chinese Buddhist pilgrim, that is Payan. Payan, who came to the subcontinent in 1600 years ago. Zhuangzang, that is known as 1400 years ago, and Ixing, who came about 50 years after Zhuangzang. They came to visit the places associated with the life of the Buddha as well as famous monasteries. Each of these pilgrims left an account of his journey. So they wrote of the dangers they encountered during the travel, and what they saw in the subcontinent, throughout the country. They all mention in their book, and the books they carried back with them. So, how Pain returned to China? The Pain describes that the sea itself is boundless in extent. It is impossible to know east or west except by observing the sun, moon, or stars in their motion. If it is dark, rainy weather, the only plan is to steer by the wind. So they have to follow the monsoon. Okay, and wind. So this is important. Now we have Zhuangzang, who took the land route back to China, who carried back with him a statue of Buddha made up of gold, silver, and sandalwood, and over 600 manuscripts loaded on the back of 20 horses. Over 50 manuscripts were lost when the boat on which he was crossing the Indus capsized. He spent his rest of his life remained in China, translating the manuscript from Sanskrit to Chinese. Now we had a very important place which is mentioned as Nalanda, a unique center of Buddhist learning. The teachers or he describes that the teachers are the men of the highest ability of talent. And the teaching of Buddha in all its sincerity, discussions are held throughout the day, and the old and young mutually help one another. The gatekeeper asked the new entrant difficult question, and only if they answered they were able to, then they were able to enter. And 7, 8 out of every 10 are not able to answer this. This is the level of problem there. So this page seems that damaged. So I will cover this page in my next one. I think how this damaged. So okay, let it be. Now we had a mentioning about the bhakti movement. That means that it comes from the Sanskrit term bhaj, means to divide or share. Two-way relationship between deity and the devotee. There is no anyone between them, and this is known as bhakti. So a poem by Bhakt have been written in the Tamil. Okay, a devotee of Shiva who lived about 1400 years ago. So he wrote that even these men, if they are servant of him who sheltered the Ganga in the long hair, I worship them. They are gods to me. So it is the role of Brahmin have been neglected in this bhakti moment, and the common people started looking the god as their ultimate aim and their friend guider. Okay, so they directly try to worship the god in the without in their own form. So this is how the life begins in the bhakti moment. Because the deities were special, the image of the deity were often placed within a special home, and people try to imagine their own way of god, own shape of god. So this is where the life begins and number of things appeared. Bhakti inspired some of the best expression in the art, sculpture, pottery, and architecture. Now we had mentioning about the term Hindu, who lived like the term India is derived from it. It was used by the Arabs and Iranians to prefer the people who lived in the east of the river and their cultural practices, including the religious belief. Now we had elsewhere, about 2000 years ago, Christianity, which emerged in the West Asia. Jesus Christ was born in Bethlehem, then which is part of the Roman Empire. Now we Christ teaching where that he was the savior of the world. He taught people to treat others with the love and trust, just they themselves wanted to be treated. So it is every religion has beauty. One has to remain close to the heart of the God, and we need not the thing need not to be ritualistic, need not to be religious, but being love, being kind to everyone is what every religion says. Now this is the end of the chapter, and I will continue just after this, and we will go to chapter number 11, and we will cover chapter 12. And thank you.